Our intro music is provided by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, hi, everybody. This is Gary down at the compound, and boy, the weather down in the harbor. Well, summer is gone, and fall is gone. I think we're now going into, well, the rainy season here. In the news today, well, the Republican Congress is, well, talking about, well, affecting us older people. That's people like me, by wanting to cut Medicaid, Social Security, and kind of bump up the age when you retire. I don't know what your feeling is about that, but that means now they're talking about instead of 65, they want to push it like to 67, and they also want to cut the dollar amount that you will receive each month. And they say they have to do that to help with the deficit. I don't know. There's other things we can do, is like not build an aircraft carrier. That's one thing I think would solve some of the problems right now. And the Army is now sending 8,000 troops. Now, on the news, it says 5,000, 8,000, 9,000. Pick the number that they're actually sending to the border to help the Border Patrol for we don't get, well, invaded from Mexico. And China says they will defend their territory no matter what. And they're telling their military, prepare, well, get ready for war, and beef up the training and all that. And they said they will not allow our ships to pass their island anymore, and they used a nice threat, or. I don't know. I don't know if we're getting close to war with China. But, the tariffs are really hurting them. And, we kind of like slapped them in the face in one aspect. We had our president, meeting with their president, and acting all bubbly and telling everybody, how a great man he is. And then these tariffs they slapped on. The tariffs is a good idea, but I think it should have been a lot smaller and talks in between. Now what's happening is, besides hurting China, it's starting to hurt us. And also, I've been doing a lot of reading, and they said that our economy is doing okay, but maybe not as good as our president keeps saying it is. And because of these tariffs, if they, again, in December, slap more tariffs on China, it's going to hurt our country a lot more. Right now, companies like Walmart and a whole bunch of companies are freaking out. From one aspect, it's costing more now to sell you stuff. So what's going to happen? You're going to start paying more for buying stuff because they're going to pay more. And if it keeps going, I don't know. It's scary. I mean, right now there's companies saying that they are going to have to start laying off people because of the what's happening, and because people aren't buying. House sales are kind of slowed down and all that stuff. Well, the stocks keep falling. And in the news today, BBC News was talking about the sea is rising. And houses are starting to get flooded in the UK that live on the coastline. Now, don't worry about it. We were told there was no such thing for many years as climate changes. Anyway, we got Janet Boyer who will be on right after this.
Please check out the Night Dreams Talk Radio website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. Also, if you want to keep our show free of advertising, just hit the donate button. Give a buck or two. Remember, all prior shows are always free to listen to. We at Night Dreams Talk Radio thank you for your support.
Well, we have Janet here on the line. She just got done writing a new book. It's out. It's available. I'm going to let her mention the name of it, but you know what? That cover just doesn't seem to fit, Janet.
Well, it is called Naked Tarot and Sassy Stripped Down Advice, and it shows a woman with her back to us.
Well, that's better than the front, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, right. Having the headlights staring at you. No, it's the and the Wheel of Fortune is on her back. And when I saw that image, I asked my publisher, Dodona Books out of the UK, could we please use it? And I bought the rights to it because I thought it was perfect, because being sassy, stripped down, it means kind of getting to the bare skin of things, to get down to where we really live in life. A lot of tarot books are dry and dusty and boring as hell, and medieval almost, and just non-applicable. And that could be perhaps because some of the authors are over 60 or 70. I'm not really sure, but I wanted to
come
write a
on.
book.
Now, what is it about somebody over 60 or 70? I mean, not all of us over 60 have Alzheimer's or dementia.
No. I was going to explain that.
Well,
what
some
I
of us.
mean is the world has changed so much just in the last 20, 25 years. The information age has exploded, and everything has changed, even how we write books and submit proposals. I mean, now publishers, many of them will only submit, you can only, as an author or prospective author, submit your proposal online. Whereas, just 20, 25 years ago, you had to have the actual book typed out, double-spaced, send it, in the long form way. And so much has changed, and so much has changed, too, in how we communicate, how relationships are. The Internet factors into many things, including parenting, relationships, finances, and, some older people aren't, with it necessarily when it comes to technology and how it can impact people's lives in the everyday. So that's what I meant. It was more of a cultural thing, not that, when you're older, then that's it, that's not what I meant. I meant that I wanted to write a book that, touched all the different angles, also from pop culture, and sometimes older people aren't really into some of the younger programs, or programs that are oriented to younger people, or they're kind of out of the loop, and that's okay. Everybody has their interests. And so I kind of wanted to have a book that was modern, contemporary, updated. Like for every card I address, to my knowledge, my Naked Tarot book is the only tarot book that has a section that actually interprets every card of the tarot, all 78 cards, through the lens of parenting. And also there's a romance section, and business and vocation, and also spirituality, and there's tons of other stuff in there. But, some of the things that come up for parenting is, how we deal with the Internet or how we deal with communication. Same way with relationship, especially with people trying to find us, dating apps or, trying to find a partner. And sometimes that, can actually be shown in tarot cards. So I just, kind of want to update it. I wanted to have it very stripped down, very modernized, but I also brought my psychological background as well as my theological training to bear on it. So it's a real interesting book in that it's kind of scholarly, learned, and pop culture, but I also drop F-bombs. So I can honestly say there's never been a tarot book like this up until now.
Well, I never seen one with a cover like that. I'll be honest with you. I when I first got the book from you, Janet, I opened the box, right? And I was looking at it for like 3 minutes before I went any farther and going, did she write one of those type of books? And I'm going, oh, wow. Because it really was confusing. If you want to sell a lot of books, just put the cover up and people will buy it just for the cover.
Oh, that's too funny. Yeah. Is this a nice girl on Facebook?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I said, to be honest with you, I said, oh my God, this is a porno book.
Oh, that's too funny.
You don't know what it's like, okay? Doing this show, I get all kinds of books. I get all kinds of emails, and you don't know what type of books I get sent sometimes. I'm going, okay, this is more in true romance.
Yeah, I see, yeah. Well, there is some explicit things in some of the romance department. There are a couple parts that are a little bit ribald, some would say, and stripped down, but, again, this is, written for modern sensibilities. It's not, I don't believe it's crude. I think it's tasteful, except for when it's not.
Oh, yeah. Well, not to down some of the guests I've had, but I've had some guests when you were mentioning like the 70-year-olds, they have a different aspect of anything to do with, the paranormal. And, they really are set in their ways. And some of their ways, I hate to say it, are honestly have been debunked through the years. And I don't think they realize it because they don't use the internet, or a lot of them I have, I'll get their emails, but not from them. It's either from their publicist or somebody else because they don't use the email themselves because they don't know how. And which is, kind of interesting. But, that means they're not keeping up with what's going on out there. And I mean, because of the internet, it's anything in the paranormal. Okay. If psychics, mystics, you name it. Okay. What you do. You can look it up and, oh boy, you can go by so many different people's aspects of it and learn a lot.
It's amazing. Sometimes I homeschooled our son who's now 20, and, my husband and I laugh when we recall the good old days. My husband just turned 47, and I'll be 48 on November 6th. But we, talk about how we had to use the card catalog, where if we were doing a book report, if we had to research, there was no Google. You had to go to the local library, and you had to go in the reference section, which you could not check out those books. And you had to find the pages of the things that you were looking up. You had to get the librarian to scan them for you. You had to pay for them. And you'd come home with like this huge ream of paper that you had to go through, as you were researching your book report or what have you. And things are just so different now. In many ways, it's like just such a blessing to have a lot of sacred texts now online that were previous hidden behind closed doors or behind, secret societies, rules and regulations. Now it's now more than ever, we have the sacred texts in our hands, and we can kind of go directly to God, so to speak, and not necessarily have to go to a church or a minister. We can, it's much more easy to find our own spiritual path and live it. And so it's really great. But on the other hand, too, there's a lot of crap out there, and if you don't have discernment, and you don't know how to cross-check your resources to say, okay, is this information being said by multiple independent sources, and then that's when you go on Facebook and, you see the suckers passing on, these crazy hoaxes or, that, someone has died or this information has, and it's been debunked, by so many sources, just like you said, there is, horribly out of date. So it's the best of times and the worst of times, just like, Charles Dickens said, the Tale of Two Cities at the opening.
Well, yeah, and I have a good friend, Liz, who has wrote a series of 5 books here, and she has them on Amazon. And the thing is, nowadays, like before, you sat down on your word processor or typewriter or computer, right? And you type it all out, and then you put it in this big envelope and send a copy out to this publisher, this publisher, this publisher. It makes it so much easier now, to just, submit it online. But, another thing, too, like with Amazon, you can sit there and even send out to Amazon your book. They'll go through and proofread it and then, publish it for you. And things have changed. And, and the only thing I will say, people, be careful on self-published books because there is